Welcome to The Bank is Open, presented by Pickett Sports, presented by Go Boys, breaking down the NBA. Maybe we'll mix in a little NFL a little later on. The usual cast of characters, NicLarson, BrianVsTheBooks. What's going on, boys? How's it going?
I'm doing great, actually. For anyone that didn't tune in, I want you to know that this edition of this basketball hoop, I did make a shot from my chair, and Nick can swear by it. So it's a pretty good day for me. It's probably the best day of my life.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's another good day to see the Jazz in first place in the West. So, are they buyers? Are they sellers? I guess we'll find out.
Before we get to the games tonight, Nick, start us off. We haven't been on like a week or so. Just sort of takeaways, anything you've learned, anything you feel differently about the last week or so, NBA wise.
Should be interesting what the Nets put back together look like here, because I'm sure that'll be a circus going forward. I don't know why, but I've been watching a lot of Kings games. Don't ask me how, but for some reason,
fun. Oh, they're fun.
They're fun.
I mean, they're pretty young. They play fast paced. They don't really play good defense, so it's usually high scoring on both ends and pretty entertaining. But yeah, they look good some nights. So I've been watching a lot of Kings basketball actually.
As at least a play-in team, I would think.
Right.
At least a play-in.
Right.
I've been looking forward to this question all last 10 minutes since I joined the lobby. Is my biggest takeaway is I can't believe a starter in the NBA just logged 30 minutes and didn't take a single field goal. That is crazy. Can anyone guess who that was last night?
I'm gonna guess Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert, 31
Nice.
minutes. He shot 0 for 0. That's crazy.
At least they didn't give up that much for him.
Yeah.
Here's a question: is this going to turn into the Westbrook trade for the?
Yes. It might be worse.
I'm I am not pro Gobert. I don't like Rudy Gobert, but it's just crazy to see. There's a difference between low usage and 0 for 0 from the field. 0 for 0. He had 4 points, and it was only because near the end in a close game, Miami hacked him like the hack-a-shack. That's his only funny. Points.
He's a polarizing player. You hear some analytics people talk about how valuable he is. You hear other people say you can play him off the court and his value isn't as great. Either way, what they gave up for him was so over the top. It ended up being like 5-6 first-round picks with the guys they recently drafted in the first round. It was just like, who are you competing against into that trade? I mean, that they seemed like they just doubled, tripled what anybody else would have given. And it's one thing if you do it and say, you know what, we overpaid, but we got a legitimate chance to win a title. That team's not winning a championship. So to me, that big trade made no sense.
And it's the guys, it's bad.
The guys they got too, like Beasley and Vanderbilt, like those are good. Like if you want to move those people are going to need those guys come playoffs. Those are good pieces off the bench for some teams. So if you want to move those, you could even add more to that if you wanted to.
Me and my brother, we were getting together because like I'm with family all week with Thanksgiving, and we love to watch Rudy Gobert because we kind of like to make fun of him a little bit. And in the Naz Reid minutes, they looked almost better. Like Naz Reid came in and just gave him decent minutes, and his plus minus was terrible. But like the entire team was down like 20 in the first half, so it just
looks like a bad fit.
It's weird.
It
doesn't work.
Can all three of you guess Rudy Gobert's average usage rate for the season and his usage rate last night?
1%. I'm gonna go with 1%.
Last night, what about for the season?
I'll give a real guess. I'm gonna go for the season. I'm gonna go 14.9.
What's the highest? Give us some context in terms of what's the highest one. In terms
highest
of
has got to be Luka.
Luka's what, 60,000%?
All right, yeah, I'll tell you her.
So he doesn't like it when the questions are flipped on him. He's asking.
It's 14% is my guess for Gobert.
Luka's average is 38.84.
That's so high.
That's so high. Those teams usually don't do well in the playoffs. We have one player that high usage, he gets worn out, and you're a little predictable on offense. So 38 is Luka. I'll guess 4% for Gobert.
Last night or season?
Season.
Nick?
I was gonna say 13.
I'm being generous because I think last year 20% was some of the better centers. So I'm gonna go 14.
His average on the season is 14.83.
No way! I said 14.9.
Okay. His usage last night was 3.78.
Wow.
Jesus Christ! Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
That's terrible. I'm just happy I got that right in the ballpark. That's the best feeling is when you can guess like blankly, but that's bad. Like 14.9 is not. That's not a high usage rate because that includes the fact he gets offensive rebounds. Like that's crazy.
Oh, that's true. That's probably where I underestimated. I don't think too much about the usage rate. That's where I underestimated the number
good.
there with Gobert. We do have 4 games tonight. If you guys want to get to those,
yeah, let's do it. Sorry,
like
my Gobert hate took over.
That's what we're here for. So talk it out. The Nets have actually played well. Simmons has played well. I was under the impression last week when they gave up 170,000 points to the Kings that, you know what, this isn't going to work with Durant. He's 34. The team stinks. Eventually, they'll move him. They've played well. Simmons has looked good. Kyrie, I mean, I'm sure it's only another week or two before we get an incident, but they've looked pretty good here. The Nets are now laying 8 in Philly, who's missing everybody. Total 217. Nick, start us off here. Nets -8 against the Sixers.
Yeah, I think this is a game I'm just going to watch, and I don't really have anything on it just due to the Sixers having basically their starting 5 out. And I don't know what you're going to get from Kyrie. I think he had like 14 his first game back. Probably just stay away from this one. Is Tobias Harris playing? Have they said that?
Tobias Harris is playing, from what I can understand. He should be. He's probable, and it looked like the reports are saying he's going to play.
Okay, he's probably going to get his shots up then. So
yeah,
I picture him as like Will Smith in the Fresh Prince gif where he walks in and there's no furniture and he's looking around.
Yeah, I imagine I was going to give, once they have like more lines out, I was going to give Tobias Harris assist a look because he's the only guy to really cover if you're the Nets. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some decent treatment and passes out because Tobias Harris can be an effective player when he wants to. The question is usually when he wants to. And if there's ever a chance for him to actually want to, it would be right now when there's legitimately nobody else on this roster.
Yeah, he blends in, but he blends in a little too much for what they gave up for him and what he makes. He does a little too much blending.
Yeah, he could be Rudy Gobert though, so it could be
Right.
it could be worse. Sorry, this is gonna be a Rudy Gobert Brian hate show. Like anything I could turn against him. No, this is a game that obviously I'm gonna watch as a Sixers fan, but I'm gonna root for like the Sixers at home. But this is a tough game. I mean, obviously we've been like the Sixers as a team. I mean, you're talking Maxi's out for 4 weeks. Harden's still out. Joel Embiid, they said 2 games, but he rolled his ankle really bad. I was expecting to miss like a whole week. So I don't think he's going to be out for like probably 3 or 4 games. So, I mean, it's tough to win in the NBA. It's tougher when you're missing 3 of your 3 best players. So this would be an interesting game to watch, especially against a Nets team that's on the up. I don't know if I like any sides to this, because the Sixers still have some good bench pieces with like Melton and like all those guys, but 8's a lot to lay. So I'm just gonna watch as a fan and hope that we can pull something off.
Yeah, we've seen this before though, where teams are missing all their stars and they come out and everyone counts them out. Yeah. And the line gets a little inflated and they win, they cover, they play a little better.
We talked about last week.
Yeah, the other team takes them lightly. Whatever the case, those guys that are filling in are looking to make a name. So we've seen it before where, you know, you look at the box score the next day and it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, do you think the Nets are a team that would ever, you know, have a day off? I doubt it. They don't seem like a team that will take a day off mentally. They seem like they're locked in all the time.
and this is Simmons in Philly, right? He's playing. He's good to go.
Yeah, he's playing, Simmons. Which is funny because it kind of sucks that Embiid's out for the return. I wanted it to be like a head-to-head.
Did you guys see the line that was up for Simmons' first free throw attempt? I've never even seen that on FanDuel before.
It is so funny.
How did they mark? How did they make? Like what time would he take it, or would he make it?
No, would he make or miss his first free throw attempt?
Ooh, this will be a fun to guess the line. I don't know what he shoots top of my head.
Not good.
Brian, you go first.
Okay, are we guessing for a make? I'm gonna go make. I'm gonna go plus 190. That feels like
too high.
You think it's?
Again, I don't know what he's shooting, so maybe it's too low. So I don't know.
I don't even know if they have it up anymore. I did.
What book was it?
It was FanDuel.
I will say it's always funny in these kind of games. You can market whatever you want and just steal so much vid from people because people want to bet that. I mean, I do have
the miss number if you want to guess that.
I'll say miss is minus 175.
I was gonna go. That's a pretty good one. See, I feel like if you're going minus 175, the make would be around that plus 80 mark. I'm gonna tail that. I like 175. I'm gonna be
minus
boring. That sounds right.
What is it?
Really? They're doing.
What does he shoot from the line? Do we know off top of our heads?
59% career.
Okay, so yeah, so I made a bad number. I was thinking of that playoff run a couple years
See,
ago where he shot like 30% from the free throw line. So
I was
59% is
also
still terrible. But
I was also just taking in the fact that they might just be a matter of that crowd is going to be
right,
relentless when he's on the
right.
line.
Oh, that'll
That's
be
interesting. That's a fun one. Like it's funny because I actually
It's gonna
wanted
be
to
nuts, though.
fade Ben
If he goes
Simmons
to the
tonight.
line there, it's gonna be
Oh, it's gonna
crazy.
be crazy. I actually wanted to fade Ben Simmons only because his points, rebounds, assist line moved like 4 whole points. I mean, it's gone from like 21 and a half to like 25 and a half. And I kind of wanted to fade him, but it's interesting because I think it's a bad line where it's at now. But I don't actively like root against Ben Simmons. Like a lot of Philly fans actively like root for him to get like hit by a bus. Like they really like are so against him. And I'm not really that spiteful. Like so I don't necessarily want to root against him, but it's gonna be really interesting to see how he handles being back in this building.
Have you guys watched him this weekend or so when he seemed rejuvenated? Do you guys think he's not washed up? Did you think he was washed up before? What are your thoughts here on Simmons?
He looked better. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Ben Simmons is going to be one of those guys where he's just always going to have like you just know like the thing that's frustrating with him is you always are going to see the talent he has, the talent you've seen from him, and it's like if you don't get that level each night, it's just going to make you so upset because you've seen it. Like you've seen it however many times, and then there's times where he looks like he's never played the sport before, and
The
it's
thing with
just like,
him,
dude,
too,
we need that.
They're talking like he was supposed to be like defensive player of the year type player as well. So
Pre-injuries, though. I mean, he had so many injuries that you thought
True.
maybe that zapped his athleticism.
yeah, and I mean it had to have like, but with that team though, you think he could just creation wise
Yes.
could bring something to the table. I mean, I would
No,
expect
yeah.
him to score 25 a game, but
Everyone's
So
taking him
big,
like
too. You should
20
be able to just
plus.
bulldoze people to the. You put a player smaller on him because you don't have to guard him, but he's so big that he should be able to
Right.
bulldoze people. You know,
Yeah.
put his head down and run people over and just get to the basket.
There was a play over the weekend where he did a little floater. It bounced front iron, but it rolled in and didn't look super pretty. But that was my thing when he was in Philly. It was a matter of it's almost doesn't matter as much as how good you shoot. It's just like, dude, take some shots. Be a threat. Like
Right.
there's some guys that, they'll never shoot constant threes, but they'll venture out there just because you have to respect it. And that's the thing with him is like, dude, just take a few shots. Like they go in, but just make it look like you're a basketball player. Don't kind of stand around.
It's like the one thing you can really learn too. Like that's one thing you can practice. The mechanics of it is weird to have all these abilities and not be able to shoot. Jason Kidd was never a great shooter in his career. Then later on in his career with like Dallas and stuff, he actually developed into a pretty good 3-point shooter. That was the joke his whole career. He was acing Kidd because he had no J.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the one thing with Ben Simmons is that's why I feel like kind of turned on him. It was just like the lack of improvement. Like if he came out and just shot and probably bricked every three, but he still had the desire to work on it and use it in a game, it'd be awesome. But it was a matter of it just never clicked for him to even attempt anything.
I think he's just scared or embarrassed if he airballs the first one or what.
Right.
Yeah. It's definitely at this point, like the longer he waited, now it's just even tougher. Like it's just so much. It's tougher now than ever it will ever be because the whole world
he comes out and airballs 2 3-pointers. He's never going to hear the end of it.
No, it's gonna be awful.
Yeah, he took no accountability too. I actually think people are forgiving. Philadelphia's even forgiving. Or if he just came out and said, you know what, I screwed up. I played badly.
Yep.
It's probably a big reason why we lost. People say, you know what, not that he get a standing ovation, but people can respect that. Remember, what was it, Bohm, who made the error? And he's like, I hate
it's
this
funny.
place.
That was the exact thing I was gonna bring up to you. Is that Alec Bohm?
Because it's relatable. People get frustrated at work. Yeah, people say things.
Yeah.
You know what? When you own up to stuff, people sort of, can relate to you a little bit more. But he never did that.
Yeah, Alec Bohm was the public enemy #1 in Philadelphia sports social media for like 2 hours after that clip, and then he came out and he said, "Yep, I said it. Like it's my fault. I was a little frustrated. Blah blah." Like from that point on, he became like a fan favorite the rest of the season. He was saying something. Yeah. So it just that's one of those things where sometimes like we were gonna get to NFL later, but even like Zach Wilson this week didn't really take accountability, and it's just you know what I mean. It's one of those things where everyone saw it. Like remember was it Josh Allen against the Jets 2 weeks ago? Remember what he said after his post-game interview? He says it's tough to win in this league when your quarterback plays like shit, and it's like people respect that. Like you can be honest and take accountability for it, and it goes a long way.
You see coaches do that all the time. They're like, oh, we got out coach. A lot of it, they don't even mean it. I think it's the right thing to say. And it's like, oh, this coach is taking accountability. So even if you don't mean it, I think it's the right thing to say. Before we move on, any bets here, minus the 8, plus the 8, or just a total pass?
I'm gonna watch and hope we can do so. If anything, Tobias Harris, like RA or assist, is something that piques my interest. But I don't have anything in this game.
We mentioned them earlier. They are fun. They are a league pass darling. They are the Sacramento Kings. Hey, when you're picking in the top 5 for like 15 years straight, eventually you get some good players, and they got some good players. They're fun. They're exciting. Mike Brown's done a nice job. They are a pick 'em in Memphis, which, boy, I actually lean towards Memphis here. Total 234.5. Brian, if you want to start us off, Kings and the Grizzlies.
Yeah, this is a good game, and it's funny. It's a pick 'em now because of the fact that all of a sudden John Morant might play. Like he was
weird.
He went from week to week at the end of the game, and then 2 days later he's questionable. So, because that makes sense. This is one where I looked at some props, I looked at some sides and this and that. I just can't even fathom touching this game until I know whether or not John Morant is in or not. The one guy that stood out to me though was I think Sabonis has a decent matchup here. As good as tall and as good as Steven Adams can be, I just think like Sabonis has been a little bit more aggressive recently, and I looked at his either rebounds or points or points/rebounds. I think he's got a good matchup. I think a lot of people are on De'Aaron Fox tonight, and he's another guy with a great matchup, but this is a game where he kind of had a good game against the Grizzlies last game, and there is something to be said that as good as Fox is, he's the one threat for this team. Like there's really one guy to worry about, and I feel like he could have some good assist chances to Sabonis in the paint if they do kind of collapse on him.
Yeah, I have one play for this. I have Fox over 1.5 threes, Murray over 1.5 threes, and then Herter 2 threes on FanDuel is plus 269. Just the pace of play that they go with. All those guys get at least probably 6+ looks for 3.
Yeah, and Fox Herter has been hitting them.
Yeah, Fox has been and not scared to shoot him either. And Herter, if he gets 6 shots, he's going to hit 2 of them. So kind of comes down to Keegan Murray. He looked decent his last game back, and I think that was his first game back from his back injury or whatever it was. So he's not on a minutes limit or anything. But I just like those two each getting 2 threes.
No, I like that. Yeah, Fox has been surprising because that was you talk about, with people developing shots. His biggest thing last year was he just could not take, like he was not great from the 3-point line, but
free throws too. Free throws he's been shaky.
Yeah, but it's funny because he still did the right thing last year where he was still a threat from the 3-point line where you couldn't just leave him out there. But
Right.
This year he's turning into like a legitimate threat where he's hitting like 2 most games. Like he's actually having a good stroke from out there, which is nice to see because I think that was the one thing with his game is we kind of touched on with Ben Simmons, but similar to Ben Simmons, he was so good at the rim and he was so good at those athletic plays, but he just didn't have that jump shot. And this year it's really coming together, which is we talked about the actually adding to your game, and he's added a lot to his game this year.
What about the side? I know the Kings are fun. They're talented. Are we at the point where they're pick 'em on the road against a pretty good team in Memphis? I sort of like Memphis here. Almost looks a little too good to be true. Nick, what do you think on the side if you had to bet it?
I mean, you
The
could
Kings
almost
expert.
yeah, right. I'm the Jazz expert, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second here. I just got a job update. Game time decision now.
Thank you. That's very helpful from whoever posted that. We appreciate it.
I mean, you could almost take Memphis here, and if you get Ja, you get a bonus, and if you don't, you still have a chance. Is what I.
And then Memphis is always somehow better without Ja. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting because whenever Ja Morant misses, they turn into like the best offensive and defensive team in the entire world. It's crazy to watch.
Can I interest you guys in Mike Brown 12-1 for Coach of the Year?
I wonder, what did he start the year at? What do you think?
Yeah, probably way back. These usually go to the top 3 or 4 seeds with Thibodeau, top 2 or 3 seeds with Thibodeau a couple years ago being an exception. So that's a mark against them. As good as the Kings have played, they're probably not going to be one of those teams.
Right.
But this doesn't make sense to me. Missoula, the Celtics coach, is the short shot plus 320. What is he like? I know they're good, but they were in the finals last year. That's a strange one to me. And then it's Will Hardy, who's done obviously a tremendous job.
He gets a narrative. That's what he gets. The
What's
Celtics
the
have
narrative
a narrative
though?
He
my
took
boss.
over a mess, a great team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like it's the same thing we talked about the Suns, where it's like the Celtics are just one of those teams where like you can get like a middle school girls coach and throw them out there and be like, okay, guys, let's win a basketball game, and you have Jason Tatum,
Right.
like Jaylen Brown, you have all this talent where, I mean, it's like a bowling coach. You almost don't have to do much.
I don't
Just
stay
knock
up
down all
at
the
night.
pins.
Yeah, I don't stay up at night staring at the ceiling and say, "Oh my god, I can't believe the Celtics have a winning record." I mean, that's strange.
It gets tough. I mean,
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, how are they winning games?
I know it's crazy. Yeah, so Missoula is plus 320, Hardy, which I can understand being up there 4-1, Carlisle 10-1, as the Pacers been a little surprising. Budenholzer 11-1, Bickerstaff 11-1, then Mike Brown 12-1. You got Chauncey Billups 14-1 coaching the Blazers, Jenkins 16-1, Jacques Vaughn 18-1. I don't know. Anything catch your eye there in terms of the coach of the year markets?
It's tough because, like you said, you have to be like one of those top seeds, and everyone I like is not going to be a top seed. So
what about your boy Budenholzer?
I don't know. I mean, once again, is it shocking that they're winning? Like they have the exact same team as last year. Like I don't think he's doing anything different.
No. I guess
what's Doc Rivers?
Right. Can I take the field versus Doc Rivers? I guess it would be a narrative with Budenholzer where he was almost fired. Remember, there was a narrative where he wasn't a good coach. He didn't make adjustments. They had some flameouts in the playoffs, and now
didn't he win it since then though?
They won it since then, and this could be like, hey, our little apology to you for crapping on you all these times. We're like, yeah, which I don't think a lot of that was unfair, but maybe it's a narrative thing where it's like, all right, now we embrace this guy as a really good coach. We give him his credit where we were hard on him in the past. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't know.
It's tough too. I mean, like, it sounds terrible, but I mean, he does have Giannis, so it's like what he just
right.
And he has a veteran. He just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, he is. He has a long last name.
Oh, nice. Is it longer than a ladder that he threw?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm sorry he upset Montrez out there, who had to get some work in because he plays 3 minutes a game.
I will say it's funny when something that happens because people just pick a side and overreact for no reason. Like people were like DMing me, like, "What are your thoughts on this?" As a Philly fan, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, whatever. Like, I'm gonna go to bed. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna lose sleep over this.
I'm gonna go to bed and not follow you because I only follow 69 people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very tight knit group, and it's mostly just Quan's burners I follow.
Before we move on, any other picks? Anything to add?
No, I can't take a side with the without the Ja news. I mean,
I was gonna say my thing is that you say could it side. I want to see how the line moves depending. Like if Ja is in, do you think it's gonna even move, or do you think it's just gonna stay here no matter what?
It'll move a little bit if he's confirmed in. I think they're playing it halfway. I think 2.5, 3 points. What's he worth? 3 points at least, I would say.
Yeah.
I would almost be tempted to go the other way then. If
they've played okay without him in the past.
Yeah, they played well without. I'm with Nick. I can't touch it. I just there's so many games tonight that like they actually look really fun to watch, and then people are like, "Oh, what are you taking?" I'll just watch it. Like like they look so good, but yeah, I'm just gonna watch. That's another game too where I feel like it's a lot could happen, but I don't really know who's gonna be taking that one.
All right, we can move on. The Pistons are in Denver to take on the Nuggets. Nuggets only 6-point favorites, total 221. Nick, start us off here. Pistons and the Nuggets.
Yeah, I don't know like what happened to Michael Porter Jr. recently, but I figured with like Jokic out and stuff like that he would kind of take that a little bit of a step, and he has been absolutely terrible lately. He used to be my go-to guy for threes especially Joker out for games, but he's just been absolutely trash. But not like the Pistons are a good team. They're 3-15. I did watch them the other night, and Ivy looked crazy good. If he can hit that 3-point shot, like he's going to be a problem, I think, because he's so quick and get to the rim. And I think it was actually against the Kings, who once again they can't play defense. But
of course, well, you always are watching the Kings, obviously.
If the Kings and Jazz play each other, I'm gonna have to block that off for sure. But I don't really have anything for this game. I can't figure Denver out right now, and I can't touch anybody on the Pistons right now except for maybe Ivy. So I'll defer to Brian on this one.
Yeah, I'm a big Jalen Iver fan. It's funny as you're talking, I'm actually excited because the play I was gonna give out that I couldn't give out because it moved back. So I will be taking it. But like the one play I have for today is 27 and a half points, rebounds, assists for Jaden Ivey. I think that's a great look.
That's
I
solid.
mean, there's no Sadiq Bey, there's no Cade. He's averaging the last 5 games. He's averaging 30 points, rebounds, assists, or 30 stats, and his usage just gets a big bump. And Denver's defense is so bad at 24th in defensive efficiency that I like I like his points, but I like the combo for Ivy because I just think he's gonna have success, whether it's passing out of doubles or taking to the rim. I think he can have, he's averaging that, about 8 RA on the season, and without Cade, I feel like he just gets a bump. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if he might score like maybe 16, but might make up that line with rebounds or assists. So I think he's got a great look today because this defense is just not good, and it's even worse without Murray and Jokic and some of these guys are missing. They're really thin, and the only worry I would have in a game like this would be a quote unquote blowout without Cade and Bay, but without Jokic and Murray, it almost balances out.
They said if Bones is playing because he might be out too. So.
Yeah, Bones was out, and then he was just questionable. So yeah, I saw someone tweet about it because they covered the game in an article, and then they had Bones out, and then they had to re-edit the article because he was listed as questionable after being out or something like that.
Buddy of mine just texted me to go back to the Nets game here for a second. Ben Simmons triple-double, 26-1. And interesting.
I literally thought about like revenge. Does he go out just crazy? And
right.
I'll say this: Ben Simmons, he either gets a triple double or he scores 0 points. I think it's going to be one of those things. I really think it's going to be one of those polarizing things.
If it's 50-50, hey, you're getting 26-1 almost.
How about triple double with 0 points? There you go.
Right. Yeah. I will say there was a game in that right before the Hawks series in the Wizards game, like the series. I took him for a triple double, and then he got a double and he missed on points, and I got so mad. Because he had like 8 points, and I was like, this guy is gonna.
It's where it started the Wizard series. That's really where it all started.
And like that was a series where it was like, dude, how tall are you? Just go do that. Are you kidding me? Sorry, we're going back to another team. Murray and Jokic just got listed questionable. Dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to give out the information when you don't know who's going to be on the court.
I'm almost glad I waited on Ivy because I might get a better line if they're both in. What the heck, man? This is ridiculous. I know it's like funny to joke about.
What are they doing at these shoot arounds? Are they like injecting them with something?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like my thing is like with how big the gambling space is, the teams know who's in. Like you can't tell me that John Morant was week to week, and now all of a sudden the team's like, "Wow, he's walking!" Like like
plus they're partners with the betting companies. They're partners. These are they're taking the money from them. I agree. It's got to be a little more on the up and up.
Yeah.
If he's hurt, say he's hurt. If he's healthy, say he's healthy. It's a regular season. You're not like this idea. I understand if it's in the playoffs and you want to have a little gamesmanship. But it's a regular season. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, we were talking about Ben Simmons. I do think that's good look, but the biggest thing is didn't it get put in at crazy? Didn't it drop a lot? I think Quan put it in his channel last night at like crazy odds, and it dropped a lot because it got so popular. But I got a little sidetracked there because I'm getting so annoyed by this injury stuff. It's like it's almost impossible to wake up early, do the groundwork, and then come on the show because by the time I come on the show, everything I've written down in my notes is nothing anymore. It doesn't matter.
Right. I guess we can move on though. Detroit is getting 7 now in some spots. Would take it later. You just can't bet it till you know.
At this point, it's all locked.
Right. I'm seeing a 7.
Yeah, now it's just I'm on FanDuel and DraftKings. Now it's just everything's locked, which means it's gonna stay locked until like 10 minutes before the game until we get official word. That's crazy. Yeah, both of them are now. And like last little gripe on this, and then I'm sorry for derailing this conversation, but this is like a health and safety thing. It's not even an injury. So
yeah,
like I feel like the league and them know if they can play or not, right? Like they know the protocol.
It's not going to change. It's not going to change 100%. 2 hours before the game.
Yeah, like
he had a 98.4 temperature. He's good to go.
Yeah, that's crazy that they just listed them all questionable. That means all 3 guys that were listed doubtful or out are now questionable or probable with Bones. That's awesome. That's the NBA, guys. We're it's that's why we're all gonna go bald in like 3 years.
Yes, absolutely. The final game here, and this is our boy Nick. Anthony Davis has started to look good. The Lakers are in Phoenix, getting 9.5.
Here he comes.
I'll let you start, Nick.
Here he comes.
Phoenix and LA.
Lakers are still bad at basketball, but Anthony Davis has looked better lately. So
which is nice to see him. He's so good, and he's not that old where he should just lose all his powers. It made no sense.
I was talking with somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh, he's so old and all." I'm like, he's actually not that old.
Right.
Like, he was so young when he came out of Kentucky. But yeah, it's good to see him playing better. I don't necessarily like the Lakers tonight, but I don't know. Like, that team is still in the Brooklyn Nets team is a mess. Something's gonna happen category. I guess the one play I do have for this is on the Suns, Cameron Payne to have over 2.5 3-pointers.
Campaign
plus 132, just good value. He's had 2 bad shooting nights, so hopefully he gets back on track. The Lakers are not good against point guards, especially point guards that can shoot threes. They are in the bottom 20%, I think it is, for point guard defense, and then the bottom 5 in the league for point guards 3-point percentage. So I think he'll get his 6 to 8 looks and be able to hit 3 of them.
Yeah, he's disappointing his family by not being a politician with a name like Campaign. Whenever I say Campaign, I don't even say it like Cameron Payne. It's just Campaign. He's a presidential candidate, but yeah, I think Campaign is one of those guys where he's not necessarily great at basketball if you watch the games, but my God, when he gets the starting job over Chris Paul, like in these games, he is not afraid to just pull that. Like he's never seen a shot he doesn't like. He reminds me of like Robert Covington back in the Sixers days. He just will pull up no matter what.
He's got that Tyler Hero in him where he doesn't really care. He just
he's
Fat
1
guy
for
at the
11.
buffet.
Yeah, he's 1 for 11, but damn, he's open. Like, yeah. So you're gonna get the volume there. He's not gonna. He's
Tucker coming in off the bench. He's not passing.
He's the Kelly Oubre of the Suns right now, where he doesn't care.
He's playing good now.
Yeah, he's frustrating because in the last 2 games he's played, he had 0 points in his first 10 minutes, and then he's ended half with 12 or more points. Like he just is out there shooting bricks, and then something snaps.
He's one of those guys too that's so streaky. Like once those guys hit a couple shots, it's like they can really
look. Yeah, is that Campaign's? Look at that 3-point attempts. That's a lot of attempts. So you'll get the volume. There.
Any plays on this one before we move on to other things? You guys want to recap what you have just in general for tonight?
The only look I have in the Suns game is surprisingly it's not DeAndre Ayton. It's probably Devin Booker. Like I think Devin Booker. Like I don't go into narratives much, but the whole breakup, Devin Booker, sad boy, like overall weekend thing, he's the one guy where I feel like he will, and he has the ability to be selfish. Like if he wanted to take 40 shots, he 100% has the green light of that offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just comes out and takes advantage of a bad defense in a game like this.
Likes to stick it to the Lakers too.
He's very just. I think like I said, he's a guy that has a talent and the green light, and sometimes he just decides when he wants to go off.
Nick, anything for you? Just summary of what your best bets are.
I've got the Cameron Payne here, and then I have the Kings trio, Fox, Keegan Murray, and then Kevin Huerter, each to have 2 3-pointers in that game.
All right, and I am on the Grizzlies money line. I'm going to roll the dice here that Ja plays, and if he doesn't play, then we'll. You know what? They've won without him in the past, so I'm just not at the point where I trust the Kings on the road against a pretty good team. So I'm on the Grizzlies money line.
I'm with you there, and I'm also with you where I have a big belief that if you have these random upgrades on the injury, that I feel like more often than not they're going to play. Like, what's the point of changing their injury status if you don't think there's a healthy chance they're going to play?
Right.
Like if you're changing a guy from out to questionable, there's got to be a good reason to go through all that.
Absolutely. Before we get out of here, Thanksgiving games, anything you guys have bet, anything catch your eye in the NFL just in general? Nick, you can start.
Just looking at the games for Thanksgiving, I think the Cowboys could smoke the Giants.
I know Giants have a winning.
So do
They have a
I.
better record. That's all that matters, right? No, the Giants are surprising.
Giants are lucky, is what they are.
No, their record surprising
for sure.
Some of these games are just like it's telling that this is a 9-point spread.
Yes,
it's telling.
And the look ahead was 6.5. So I hate to do this where you overreact to 1 week and it's like Dallas wins by 1,000,000. Giants look terrible against the Lions. Now, you're going to be with the side with everybody, but man, I just think the Giants. Here's the thing: they don't have any playmakers and they're not good on defense. So it's like, what is their strength? I don't know. I guess Barkley, but Dallas is pretty good against the run.
Just the way Pollard,
Dallas,
the way they've been using Pollard too, like I think they might have figured something out there.
Yes. Yeah, I mean Pollard is just you. Here's what I'm saying: like I think I talked about this with Ryan before. I'm not sure if I talked about with you guys before because you're mostly NBA. But you watched Tony Pollard last week with the healthy Zeke, and how does Jerry Jones still try to defend that he's not better than Zeke? Like he's so tied to that contract and he's dying on the hill that Zeke is still a better overall player. And then you watch Tony Pollard do what he does each week, and it's just like, Jerry, just admit you messed up on that contract. This guy is he's legit.
I think it was Bill Simmons podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about the Cowboys, and they said if you had an alien that came here and was watching football, that they would think that Tony Pollard was a top 5 running back in the NFL, not in a timeshare right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We've known this forever. We've always said, they're playing the wrong guy.
But like I said, he paid Zeke and Jerry. Like what was it? It was 2 weeks ago when Zeke was hurt. They asked him after the game, like, "Wow, Tony Pollard did all this," and Jerry he literally looked at him in the face and was like, "Oh, well, everything he did today is something that Zeke can still bubble." And I was like, "Dude, you're just stop right now, please. This is embarrassing in a way."
Dak Prescott also is apparently actively recruiting Odell Beckham Jr. I saw just a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's still around. He's still hopping around. Not hoppy, I guess, anymore. I guess he's recovered.
Yeah, I don't. He was good for the Rams, but he's at the age now where he's had so many injuries. He's a big name. I don't know what a difference maker he is. I guess the Cowboys who could use a receiver, you'd rather have him than not. I'm not sure if he's a game changer.
Yeah, the one thing talking about Cowboys receivers, the one thing I took is I got my 35.5. I'm on Dalton Schultz's over in receiving yards. I love Dalton Schultz because he was a popular play last week against the Vikings, and he only saw, I think, 3 targets. But when you're up 40-3 and Tony Pollard's getting 400 yards, I mean, 37.5, he's over that in 4 of the 5 games with Dak. And Dak really uses him as that safety valve. So I think it's a good buy low spot where I'm pretty sure he closed in the mid 40s last week with a 4.5 catch line, and getting him below 40 this week is actually a really good line because the Cowboys are 31st in DVOA against tight ends. I mean, the Giants are 31st against tight ends there. So I think it's a great buy low spot for Dalton Schultz, who should be getting not like an overreaction, but I do like it coming off a miss where they just blew out a team where he can get some looks maybe early on.
I like the 10 with Detroit. I heard Buffalo, and not only they have to shovel their way out of Buffalo, fly to Detroit, but they're not staying there, which I found was surprising. You figure, what, they're there, get comfortable, spend your 4 or 5 days there, business trip, and then you're out. They actually flew back to Buffalo. So you went from Buffalo to Detroit, back to Buffalo, then you're going back to Detroit. Early kickoff. This is a strange spot. I'm just conditioned to see that plus sign with Detroit where they just, as a dog, they're so good at covering numbers, whether it's a backdoor cover or just hanging within the number. That 10 looks tempting. I know everyone's going to be on the Bills, but Allen was limited in practice, had a little sleeve on his elbow. I will take the 10 here with the Lions. What do you guys think of Bills Lions?
I'm with you with that.
I like
that. They're the kings of garbage touchdowns in this order, and they have the people that can get them too.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
Yeah, and they're lined up for a track race. I mean, their defense is not good. We can all admit that, but they always seem to just stay in games. Because I remember, week 1 with the Eagles, the game was over. I mean, that was a 3-score, 4-score game, and then all of a sudden it's a 10-point game. Yeah, it's yes. They have that. They have that good backdoor cover where once a team doesn't care, if the Bills just start running out the clock and they can get a stop, they could just, you have Amon St. Brown, you have DeAndre Swift sometimes in that backfield and those 2-minute drills. they can get those random touchdowns at the end of the game just to ruin everybody else's day.
It's good offensive personnel with Williams, Swift, Brown. You get Jamison Williams back maybe at some point, and Goff, if you protect him, if he's indoors, can move the ball on you. And I just think that's a good home crowd on Thanksgiving. They get up for that game. Hell, they've actually won 2 in a row. If they somehow pull the upset, they're 5-5. I think it is. I think they're 4-5. I mean, they talk themselves, hey, we win this game, we're 5-5. We get to 9 wins in the NFC. Who knows? We get in the playoffs. So their season, believe it or not, isn't over, which is strange.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, they have experience in Thanksgiving games, so this is one where maybe they have the edge there if you go by that. But yeah, they're in a division where they can make some noise. So every game matters for them because they're in that awkward stage where they're not going to be able just to lose out and just lay down. So they're going to still try to win football games at this point. So you never know. Bills will look shaky.
Yeah. Plus, they beat the Giants head-to-head, and the Giants have a tough schedule. So if they ever get in a tiebreak scenario with the Giants, the Lions will actually control that. Now, all this being said, they'll come out and get stomped 38-10 on Thanksgiving, and they'll end up with 6 wins. But that 10 looks tempting. 9.5, it was a pass for me. But if you can get the 10, and some of these games are sitting around key numbers, I would take the 10. How about Minnesota, New England, the night game? Boy, that was ugly. Both sides, even though the Patriots won, that was ugly offensive football between the Jets and the Patriots. The Vikings was a disaster. Both teams missing some O-linemen. You could talk me into an under here. Brian, start us off here. Anything you like in terms of the Thursday night game, as we are, of course, the NBA show here. The bank is open, presented by Pickett Sports. Download the Pickett app. What do you guys think of Minnesota, New England?
See, this is a rule I usually break. I hate seeing -2.5 for a team because it always makes you feel like they know, because it's only a field goal, but you can convince me to take Minnesota -2.5 because as bad as they looked last week, I mean, have you watched Mac Jones play a football game this year? It's almost like taking.
He's lucky he has a job still.
Yeah, it's like I feel like watching him play football is like drinking a whole bottle of NyQuil and trying to stay up. It's very tough to watch, and I just think despite getting blown out by Minnesota, by Minnesota getting blown out by Dallas, they still have pieces. I mean, they still have the offensive pieces. Their defense has shown up in certain situations. They just beat the Bills 2 weeks ago. If there was a chance to buy low on them, it'd be this week, and I feel like people might flock to the Patriots only because of what they saw. People love the recency bias of watching a team get blown out by 40 and then just kind of accepting that they're cooked, but they're still a 2-loss football team getting 2.5 at home.
It's a good home field too.
Yeah. So that's actually one where I probably might be one of the few spreads I take because right off the bat, that's one that I was looking at for this week.
I think that they come in I think the Patriots defense, well, it's probably good. It probably is getting a bump from that Jets game. And the Jets, I mean, Zach Wilson looked absolutely awful. I mean, yeah, I think they had more punts than he had completions. Was that right?
I've never heard the stats inches per play. They averaged it was 2 inches. It was
2.6 or something. Yeah, which is big. That's a lot. That's a 2.6 inches is more than enough. For anybody, really. It's probably double what you need, but in
How
football
about the second half yards versus feet of snow in Buffalo? I think it was 5 versus 6 or something. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And my thing is I think the Vikings, you can contest me on this, the Vikings might score more than 3 points on offense. I don't know. It seems
Derek concerns me, though. He's a big offensive lineman, and Cousins just, if you're going to put pressure on Cousins, he's just not the type of player that's
Did you see his pressure rate? It was in the mid-60s. It was one of the highest ever, I think. They just blitzed the hell out of him.
Not a good combo either.
And there was a play that first Parsons strip sack. He had 3.05 seconds to throw. I saw Mina Kimes tweet out he had time to throw. He's just a guy. I don't know if you put any sort of pressure on him, he crumbles. He's a guy that needs everything around him to be perfect. I'm not a huge Cousins fan. It'll be interesting. It should be an ugly game. I think both teams are missing offensive line because the Patriots are missing 2 starters and the Vikings missing Darrisaw could be significant. It's enough to keep me off Minnesota. I think the under would be the play. I could see an ugly game there.
Yeah. Who messes this up here? The Lions plus 20.5, Dallas money line, and Vikings plus 3.5.
Wow.
What's the odds on
pretty
that?
good.
Plus 126.
See, that's something. That's like one of those things. If you have a free bet, I can get behind that. That's a fun all day thing. And then when the Lions lose by 34, you can just start drinking.
It's like,
you can just start drinking really early.
Yeah.
I don't trust the Vikings. I'd say if anybody screws you up, it's the Vikings. But at least it's the
Vikings,
last leg.
Push the Vikings to an alt under maybe.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, I think it's tough.
But Brian makes a good point. Like they could come out and play well, put that game behind them. I don't know what to expect. They actually, I'm sure you guys have heard they have a negative point differential. Like they're a very polarizing team because yes, they're 8-2, but a lot of their stats are just mediocre, middle of the pack.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help when your two losses are combined by like 60 points.
No, I know.
Yeah,
you feel better about under 48.5.
Yes.
Basically the same odds.
Yeah, that'd be hard to see those two teams getting to 50. Although, did you see Minnesota's defense on Sunday? Jeez.
Did you see?
But if you see Mac Jones,
it's
very. We can do this all day.
I know.
We could do this all night.
That's really the story of the NFL because you watch these teams be like, oh, these two teams are playing. Like, oh, I'm betting against that team. They stink. Like, what about this team? They're awful too. Like a lot of these teams, it's just, man, I was sitting there Sunday watching these games. Like, if I didn't have it matched on this, I don't know how I'd watch this. Like, the Eagles game was good. There were some good games. There's always a few of them, but man, it's just there's a lot of bad teams. There's a lot of really mediocre teams.
Yeah, and this is a game too where I think you're getting the primetime Cousins discount. Like if this is a 1 p.m. game, I feel like Minnesota's 4. This is like a 4 spread. I think that the Kirk Cousins primetime is a real thing. He's awful at primetime, but I think
anything out of that 1 o'clock window because he's very routine oriented. I'm with you.
If this is a 1 p.m. game in Minnesota, I feel like you at least get the 3.5 hook. At least you get the field goal hook, I think, if it's a 1 o'clock game.
Although I think a lot of people probably have the Patriots power rated the higher team, as crazy as that is. They're both probably middle of the pack, like 15th, 16th best teams. I don't know. And I'm a Vikings fan. I don't see it with this team at all.
Yeah, well, Patriots fans also like to believe they're still elite from like 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. The Jets won that game. They would have been in first place. And now the Jets and the Patriots. Here's the thing about the NFL. The Jets, the Patriots, the Giants, I watch all these teams play. They all actually have good records, and none of them are any good. Like, I don't care. None of these teams are good.
Yeah, I can't even get into that because my one friend's a Giants fan. He called the Eagles frauds to get under our skin, saying that we have an easy record. And I literally, we were in a group chat, and I was like, Drew, I was like, listen, do you know that we have the same record? Like we have the same schedule. Like he's like, well, the Eagles haven't played anybody. I'm like, that's how
there's nobody to play.
Work.
Nobody's good unless you're playing.
I'm like, that's how divisions work, right? We have very similar schedules because we're in the same division. And he was like, well, if you put it that way, I don't. And I was like, no, I'm just like, that's like, look at the teams you played and look at the teams we played. They're basically the same.
Yeah.
Will, that when you gave out the Josh Allen potential Tommy John news a couple shows ago, and we brought up the Dolphins division winner that's almost 2 times cash out right now.
Did you get in on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that what did we get? Plus 550?
Plus 550, yep.
Boy, we could have gotten some help from the Browns the other day. The Browns had their opportunities in the beginning of that game. They dropped a couple touchdowns. They fumbled. That was a situation. They could have been up like 10 or 13 points, and it was only a 4. And then you know how it is. Anytime you're a big favorite and you let the team hang around, it's like, you're going to pay for that. And the Browns ended up paying for it.
Yeah, I was watching Red Zone, and I zoned out, and me and my friends saw it was like a 14-point, whatever like the early lead was. And we're like, oh, the Bills, are they doing this again? And then we checked back in like 20 minutes later, and the Bills were up like 48 points. And we're like, oh, well, all right, that didn't last.
All right, boys. Well, this was fun. I think we covered it. We did a little NBA. We did some NFL. This is The Bank is Open, presented by Pickett Sports. Brian, Nick, this was fun as always. Any parting words?
Hopefully I get some injury news on the Nuggets game so I can play Jaden Ivey, maybe. That's my parting words is I need to know who's in the game.
Let's go Kings.
All right,
let's go Kings. He's got the Grizzlies money line, man. You can't be saying that.
Kings players. Let's go Kings players.
Just their players. Just their players on offense. On defense, they could take.
They don't play defense, so you don't have to worry about that.
They don't. DHs, bunch of DHs. All right, boys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Pickett Sports. Go boys. Happy Thanksgiving. If we don't talk to you, enjoy the time with your family. Win all your bets. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening.